Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be going over the last group of players that have had top 30 visits with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as of the recording of this video, which is late on April 8th. And it's four cornerbacks, guys. I know you guys are probably excited to talk about this. You have Ole Miss cornerback Trey Amos, reported by Mike Garafolo. You have East Carolina cornerback Siobhan Revel Jr., reported by Ryan Fowler. You have Kansas State cornerback Jacob Parish, reported by Justin Mello. And you've got Oregon cornerback Nico Reed, reported by Aaron Wilson. Let's go ahead and start off with the couple of big names on here. I mean, they're all decent names, right? But Trey Amos, out of Ole Miss, I think is an interesting name to start off with. Okay, 23 years old, 6'1", 190 pounds. He is the 32nd graded player on Pro Football Focus's big board. Again, this is the big board that I use. He is graded to eventually be a plus starter in the NFL, according to NFL.com, according to Lance Zierlein, I should say. His NFL comparison is Tarheeb Still, so a good comparison to see in there. Folks, there's a lot to like whenever you talk about Trey Amos, and he could very well be a legitimate option at pick number 19. A coverage grade of 85.6, a run defense grade of 81.0, allowed a 51.6 completion percentage when targeted. That's very good in my opinion. A man coverage grade of 75.4, and a zone coverage grade of 78.9. Trey Amos can do a little bit of everything, okay? He really can. You take a look at the overall stats. 13 games played, guys. 13 games played, 3 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, I should say. Were those 2 pick sixes? I believe they were 2 pick sixes. So that is very, very good stats to see there from Mr. Trey Amos. A 54.5 passer rating when targeted. So this dude was absolutely fantastic in coverage last year. He played 759 snaps as an outside cornerback, 4 on the defensive line, 2 in the slot, 68 in the box, and 7 deep. People will also remember, by the way, the head coach of Ole Miss is Lane Kiffin, son of the late great defensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Monty Kiffin. So there may very well be a strong pipeline there between Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, and the Buccaneers as well. But Trey Amos is certainly, I think, in play for pick number 19, in my opinion, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that Trey Amos would be a very solid pick if he was that selection. I think that he's a guy that can come in and at minimum, guys, be your third outside cornerback to start day one. I think right now your 2 starters are Zion McCollum and Jamel Dean. But if you needed to start Trey Amos as your number 2 cornerback opposite of Zion McCollum or opposite of Jamel Dean, depending on how injuries go, knock on wood for that, I wouldn't be upset about that at all. And I think the future of the Bucs cornerback room would be very bright, depending on if Zion McCollum gets a contract here in the future and Trey Amos in that mix as well if he was at pick number 19. Yes, the Bucs did bring back Bryce Hall, but you literally had head coach Todd Bowles say, we need more depth at cornerback. Trey Amos would be fantastic outside cornerback depth. And I will reiterate this point here. That's what the Bucs need, is outside cornerback depth. They have a lot of options at nickel cornerback. They need to focus more on their outside cornerback depth, in my opinion. Yes, you did bring back Bryce Hall, but you could certainly have Trey Amos in that mix as well. I think he could be a very solid option at pick number 19. The next guy that you've got, which I'm going to be curious to compare these to, is Siobhan Revel, 22.9 years old, 6'3", from 193 pounds. He's another guy that a lot of people have been clamoring about for the Bucs at pick number 19. Here's the deal, though, guys. He played in only 3 games in 2024 due to injury. He did have a big-time major injury this past year. It was a torn ACL in his 3rd game. However, before that injury did occur, Siobhan Revel was putting up a good year. An 85.4 overall coverage grade, a 70.0 run defense grade, only allowed a 38.1 completion percentage when targeted, a 75.3 man coverage grade, a 79.6 zone coverage grade as well. So Siobhan Revel was showcasing some really good stuff there before he had sustained that injury. He's got very good outside perimeter size as well. NFL.com has him to eventually be a plus starter in the NFL. His NFL comparison, according to Lance Zierlein, is Benjamin St-Juste, which, considering how Benjamin St-Juste's career has been so far to this point, might not be the most like, oh yeah, go get him type of comparison, right? But he did have 2 interceptions. He did have a 48.8 passer rating when targeted in 2024 as well. Whenever you take a look at the 2023 numbers as well, he put up some good work. I mean, an 80.5 overall grade in 2023. Yes, 1 interception. I maybe it's allowing touchdowns. He either had a pick six or allowed a touchdown. So Trey Amos may have allowed 2 touchdowns, but 185 snaps at outside cornerback in 2024. 501 outside cornerback snaps in 2023, 117 snaps in the box in 2023 as well. So you have more versatility there from Siobhan Revel. In my opinion, though, I would still likely be on Team Trey Amos. The reason I say that is because Trey Amos played at Ole Miss. Okay, Ole Miss played some decent schools. South Carolina was in there, LSU, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia was in there. Okay, Siobhan Revel didn't have to play that level of talent at Eastern Carolina. Okay, that's an important thing to note, in my opinion. I think there would be more growing pains with Siobhan Revel, but what also worries me is that torn ACL. We're talking about the Buccaneers getting healthier. Okay, they need to get healthier at the cornerback position specifically because of the injuries that you've had to Zion McCollum, Jamel Dean, Bryce Hall, all these different guys that have been dealing with injuries. Do you want to add another guy coming off of a torn ACL to that mix, or would you rather go with a guy that was healthier and did technically put up better grades than Siobhan Revel, but Revel did put up better stats in the advanced stats metrics? However, it was in a more limited capacity in terms of playing time and whatnot. 3 games for Revel, 13 for Trey Amos. I would still personally take Trey Amos. You guys may disagree with me. Go ahead and sound off in the comments section below, by the way. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions about that. The next cornerback that we have is Kansas State cornerback Jacob Parish coming in, by the way. Also for Siobhan Revel, very similar to what I said regarding Trey Amos. He would be minimum your 3rd outside cornerback, in my opinion. I think the Buccaneers would bring him along slower than what you would have with Trey Amos. Next, you have Jacob Parish. Bit different here. 5'10", 198 pounds. Still decent size, but doesn't have the height of what you would see for a perimeter cornerback, so to speak. But at Kansas State, he had a 76.9 coverage grade, a 71.4 run defense grade, 55.6 completion percentage when targeted, a 64.8 man coverage grade, a 77.4 zone coverage grade. He allowed a 73.3 passer rating when targeted. So this is a interesting player, okay, in terms of the versatility. I want to dive into that here in a moment. By the way, Jacob Parish is 110th on the Pro Football Focus big board. According to NFL.com, he's graded to eventually be a plus starter. His comparison by Lance Zierlein is Garrett Williams, 4.35 40-yard dash, the 4th most athletic cornerback graded at the 2025 NFL Combine, only 12 reps on the bench press. So certainly more athletic and fast versus his strength. Okay, but Jacob Parish played in so many different roles while at Kansas State. This year is just an example, guys. 2024, 73 snaps on the defensive line, 91 snaps in the slot, 470 snaps at outside corner, so he does grade more to be an outside corner, 44 snaps in the box, 4 snaps deep. So this is a guy who can do a little bit of everything, okay? He can. And right now he's graded to be more of a mid-round pick type of guy. And he'd be an interesting option just purely for the versatility. And if the Buccaneers do want to get a bit more versatile, get a bit more creative in terms of what they do on the defensive side of the ball, you would certainly get a lot of that with a guy like Jacob Parish. He is certainly the most versatile guy we've seen so far to this point, playing on the defensive line, has more slot experience than Revel and Trey Amos. It seems like he would be more of an outside cornerback. I would probably say he'd be that fourth outside cornerback behind Bryce Hall, because he would be a mid-round type pick of a guy, but he would still be very solid depth nonetheless, in my opinion. But that would definitely be more of a, hey, we're going to bring you in as like our cornerback 4, not necessarily our cornerback 3 with room for more in the case of guys like Siobhan Revel, and especially in the case of Trey Amos, in my opinion. Finally, we have Oregon cornerback Nico Reed coming in here. Nico Reed actually isn't even on the Pro Football Focus big board. That's very interesting to me. Doesn't even show up on the Pro Football Focus big board. It doesn't even have an NFL.com page, I believe. So we're going straight off the cuff here. 14 games played at Oregon in 2024. He left. He actually used to play for Colorado. That's very interesting. He left after Deion Sanders got there as head coach. Okay. So he went to Oregon and did some interesting stuff while at Oregon. Played in 14 games this past year. Had 39 combined tackles, 2 tackles for loss, no sacks, 2 interceptions, 7 passes deflected. 2023, 7 passes deflected. He had 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack. He had 25 combined tackles playing in 14 games. According to sportsreference.com, 5'10", 160 pounds. Thin cornerback, right? Thin cornerback. Now, he's actually graded as a cornerback / defensive back. So I wonder if they may view him as more of a slot guy, more of a, hey, we're going to view you as a nickel cornerback, safety kind of hybrid guy. I'm curious about that. Right? I'm very curious about that. So I'm going to be interested to see what he is at the NFL level. I'm trying to see even on the Oregon website in terms of his overall stats and things along those lines. Did he do anything? Or what did he play primarily? Oregon is not helping me out here a ton in terms of their team website, but I do see cornerback, defensive back versatility. I do wonder if he did play a lot of nickel cornerback while at Oregon, could we very well see, that versatility that we've seen with guys like Christian Izien, with guys like Tyke Smith, with some points, a guy like Antoine Winfield Jr. That's where you get an interesting conversation, in my opinion. So I'm going to be curious about that as well. Again, since he's not on the big board for Pro Football Focus, I got to imagine he might be more of a later round guy. And you always want special teams guys. You always want versatility and right now and stuff along those lines. He's apparently expected to be a day 3 type of guy. He didn't get an invite to the NFL Combine, unfortunately. So could be a late round flyer that the Buccaneers take that could prove very useful in terms of special teams play and versatility. The Bucs have had great success recently drafting out of Oregon with Bucky Irving. Important to remember that. So what do you guys think about these 4 cornerbacks? Who would you take, Trey Amos or Siobhan Revel? What do you think about the versatility of Jacob Parish and Nico Reed? Let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions. I'd love to hear it down in the comments section below. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed. As always, guys, I will see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.